Hi guys, and welcome back to episode number 4 of my Eat Smart series. Now my question to you is, do you want to know more about one of the most successful ways to diet effectively? In this video, I'm going to help you understand a little bit more about how to monitor your nutrition through tracking your macros. Now by macros, I mean macronutrients, which of course are protein, carbs, and fat. I'm going to be talking about the benefits, the different options you have when it comes to tracking your macros, and I'm also going to be looking at two of the most popular ways that you can monitor this. At the end of this video, I'll be giving you an update into how my own prep is going as I get ready for my pro debut. Remember guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and set the bell to alert you every time I post a new video every Monday. In the first 3 episodes of this series, I've broken down the 3 macronutrients that are protein, carbohydrates, and fat. So I suggest that you have a look at those videos if you haven't already to get more of an understanding into what each macronutrient does, what foods contain them, and how they can fit into your diet. Today we will be moving forward with all of that information and bringing that into a plan as to how you can track your macros effectively. So I'm really looking forward to using my knowledge to help you understand more about tracking your macros. I personally follow a flexible dieting approach, and I do this through an app called MyFitnessPal. Now, there's lots of different ways that you can look to incorporate tracking your macros into your lifestyle, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the video. Whether you're new to the world of tracking macros, you've tried it in the past, or you currently monitor your nutrition by utilizing macronutrients, this video can help you. We're going to start by understanding what I mean by tracking macros. Tracking macros refers to monitoring your diet, and more specifically, looking at your intake of calories and macronutrients. By monitoring your nutrition, you are opening the door to both physical and mental improvements. When looking to track your macros, it's always worth remembering that your body needs vital macronutrients to function at its best. So if you can monitor what you eat, how that makes you feel, the possibilities are endless of what you can achieve. By controlling what you eat, you start to understand that the benefits span far greater than just aesthetics. If you've got more energy, you feel better in yourself. There's a lot of wanting to learn more there, and it feeds a curiosity as to how far you can take it. And naturally, if you then have aesthetic changes, that can also add to the fuel of you wanted to continue and learn more. One of the biggest motivations to make this a whole lifestyle change and then to continue for, potentially years on end is when you realize what you can achieve. The physical and the mental benefits behind monitoring your nutrition are incredible. And I myself have learnt that through my bodybuilding. So I've been doing that now for just over 6 years, and also working with clients as a personal trainer. When you're looking to monitor your nutrition through tracking your macros, you can be as specific as you want. So by this I mean the targets that you're going to set and how you're going to monitor this. Now we're going to look at 2 of the most popular options that you've got when it comes to tracking your macros. So option 1, I personally would always recommend that when you're looking to track the food you're eating, you set at a bare minimum a calorie target and a protein target. Now this is particularly important if you're looking at body composition changes, and the need for protein in your diet is something I've explained more in my episode where I went into a little bit more about why protein is important. So give that a watch if you want to understand a little bit more. It's worth mentioning here that each macronutrient carries a certain amount of calories. So protein and carbohydrates, you're looking at 4 calories per 1 gram. And then fat, we're looking at 9 calories per 1 gram. Setting a calorie and a protein target is a great way to get started. So, what you would then do is use the rest of your calories on fat and carbohydrates through preference. And if you are just starting out on your nutrition journey, this is a great place to get you used to structure, to hitting targets, and starting to understand what different foods can offer your diet. This can also be a great option for competitors in their off season where you're looking to gain muscle. And it's something I tried in my most recent off season. When my calories got nice and high, I was able to hit my protein target, which went up to 200 grams a day. My calories were around 2,800 a day at their highest. And I then looked at targets for carbohydrates and fats, but I had a range rather than a set target. My carbs would be as high as 350 grams a day, and then my fat was between 65 and 85 grams per day. What this did was allow me an element of flexibility that I haven't really explored so much before. So I could, on training days, maybe go more towards carbohydrates. On rest days, I would bring up the fats, or sometimes I would just start to incorporate different foods that I fancied on the day. I might be at the supermarket and see something that I quite fancied that's higher in carbs, so I'd incorporate that, bring the fats a bit lower, and vice versa. So it just gave me some options there to toy around with. So let's take a look at how this would look. With my calorie target being around 2,800 per day and my 200 grams a day protein target, this would mean using 800 calories on my protein, and that left around 1,950 calories across the rest of my day for carbohydrates and fat. As a top number for my carbs, I was looking at around 1,400 calories a day, and that was heading for the 350 grams of carbohydrates. I then had my fat range, which was around 585 to 765 calories on that 65 to 85 gram daily target. So without trying to confuse you too much, that gives you an idea as to how the numbers would look if you're looking at a calorie and a protein target. The second option would be to track all three macronutrients, and that would then equate to an overall calorie target per day. For the majority of my time as a competitor, this is how I've monitored my own nutrition. I find that by monitoring all three macronutrients, it allows me to be nice and specific on my plan. It allows my coach and I to understand why certain things are happening and what sort of setup I need to facilitate my goals. Both approaches can work for anyone looking to achieve body composition changes. But naturally, the more specific you can be and the more time you can put into this, the more you can look to achieve. The most important thing to remember when selecting the best option for you is to understand why you're tracking in the first place and what goals you're looking to achieve. The targets you set should be geared towards your own success. As an example, if you're looking to lose weight, you would look to get into a calorie deficit. If you're looking to gain weight and muscle, you'd look at a calorie surplus. So whatever your goal is, you can set up your calories and all your macronutrients to suit that. Setting goals gives you focus and it gives you something to work towards, which is incredibly important if you're going to make this a lifestyle. It's going to feed your adherence and longevity, which are both things that can be affected if you're not quite sure where you're heading. Now let's look at the benefits of tracking your macros. One of the biggest benefits is that it enables you to target your nutrition to your goals. Another one is you becoming accountable, and that's one of my favourite perks to any type of monitoring of your nutrition, your training, getting a coach, is taking that sense of accountability and letting that motivate you to fuel your success. You can keep a reliable account of what you're consuming, And you can start to understand what foods digest really nicely for you and which foods satiate you the most. Tracking allows you to understand what foods offer you in terms of performance, energy, and body composition changes. You can gain an understanding into the different macronutrients that each food contains, but you can also understand what the calories look like for different items of food. You can enable structure around your training and your lifestyle. And one of the biggest perks is that it keeps you on track. Before we look at the different ways you can track your macros, I'd like to open up the floor as to any questions you might have about flexible dieting. In next week's video, I'm going to be going into a little bit more about how flexible dieting could work for you and what it entails. So it'd be really good to get some listener questions in that I could maybe answer in the video and help you understand a little bit more. Now let's look at two of the most popular ways that you can track your macronutrients. First one we're going to have a little look at is flexible dieting. And like I said just there, I am going to do a video next week on this, but I'd like to cover how this could facilitate tracking your macros. In a nutshell, flexible dieting is choosing the food you eat and tracking them within an app like MyFitnessPal to monitor what calories you're having and what macronutrients you're taking on board. Now, as I've already mentioned, this is how I personally like to structure my nutrition. And using an app like MyFitnessPal allows you to scan or input different foods, and it gives you a calorie and a macronutrient breakdown, which you can then use to hit your targets each day. And this is going to facilitate understanding what different foods offer you and how they can come into an overall structure to help you meet your goals. Naturally, the element of flexible dieting, where you can choose what you eat, can enable adherence and help you stick to the diet for longer periods of time. Now, I really like the flexible dieting approach, but I understand it doesn't work for everyone. So we're now going to have a look at how setting yourself up with a meal plan could also work when looking at tracking your macros. When setting up a meal plan, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can create a spreadsheet that sets out your meals, timings, and quantities, and that lists the foods that you're going to include. You can look to structure your meal plan around your lifestyle. Say, for instance, on a training day, you could detail your pre and your post training meals on your meal plan. You can then look to train at certain times that would facilitate you eating around your training. Here's an example of what this might look like. So you can see here, if I was going to train in the morning, I could have my pre-workout meal on my meal plan. Anything I want to take on board within my training session, I could also have here. I can then have my post-workout meal, and then I can structure the rest of my meals throughout my day to have preference over fat or carbohydrates in those meals. I can look at different ways to structure my day around this. I'd always recommend that you have 25 grams per serving each time you eat of protein. And then you can look if you want to have carbohydrate and fat targets around certain parts of your day. So this is something I've tried personally in the past. Now, when I first started out as a bodybuilder, I didn't have very much knowledge on nutrition. And before I started working with my coach, Stephen, I attempted to make my own meal plan. What I did is I looked up a variety of different foods on Google, and I took down all the different macronutrients in the different foods that I wanted to include. I then put this all into a spreadsheet, so I had lots of different formulas that were calculating the macros I was getting per meal and per day. Now let me tell you, this was quite something, and it took hours. Probably not something that I'd look to do again, starting from scratch, creating a meal plan with lots of different foods, lots of different meals. But it certainly gave me that knowledge to understand what it took to create a meal plan, what different macronutrients were in different foods, and it also fueled something within me to want to learn more, able to understand that bodybuilding was definitely the path that I wanted to take. You can also look at a very similar approach that offers you different options for different foods. This would be something like you could have listed 100 grams of chicken or turkey. So you would need the macronutrients to be very similar to make this effective. I've seen meal plans that incorporate this style and offer things like selecting 2 different green vegetables as part of a meal. One thing you want to be careful with here is that when you're looking at things like, say, a vegetable or a carb source, you do need to consider the macronutrient content there. So if you were looking at something like carrots compared to something like broccoli, it's a very different makeup there. So you just want to be aware when you're making your plan, stick to those foods that are going to offer a very similar content for you. This could be a really nice option for you. You can also look at items like fruit and having the option of things like strawberries and raspberries. You can look at dairy products like Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, which are very similar in macronutrients and calories. One of the biggest benefits to meal plans is once it's created, all you need to do is execute it. There's pros and cons to both options there. What you need to do is understand what's going to work for you and ensure that whatever method you choose, it's going to gear towards your own success and achievement of your goals. Making any changes to your lifestyle requires an element of commitment. And when it comes to diet, if you can take on board that the foods you eat are down to you, then that's going to play a massive part to you being able to achieve your goals. Ultimately, when it comes to tracking your macros, the way you do that is up to you. But please ensure that you choose a way that works for you. The last thing you want to be doing is fighting against the diet that you've selected. So weigh up the pros and cons, look at the benefits, do some research, and get to grips with what is going to work for you. Remember, guys, the first step to achieving any goal is to get started. I hope you've enjoyed this video about tracking macros, and I look forward to next week's episode where we're going to be talking about flexible dieting. Now, I'd like to give you a little update into how my own prep is going. So I've just finished week 11 of a 21-week prep. So I'm over halfway now. I've got 2 weeks under my belt since my deload, and things are feeling much better for me now. Last week when I spoke to Stephen, my calories have gone down. So I'm looking at 1,750 a day now. Protein, carbs and fat have all gone down. Protein is now 160, carbs are 175, and my fats are 45 grams per day. My cardio's increased to 3 sets of 400 calories burnt, so I'll be doing around 40 to 45 minutes 3 times a week. My weight training will remain as 5 sessions a week. One of the biggest contributors to this prep feeling really nice and natural, and being able to embrace the journey of going in deeper into a calorie deficit, pushing myself for my pro debut, is that I've been able to learn for 6 years of competing. I've done various other preps, and by sticking at it in the long run, I've been able to keep my calories a lot higher this time. I haven't needed to expend as much energy. My steps per day is still 14,000 a day as a target. By this stage, normally I would have been doing a lot more cardio, but my body's reacting. The experience that I've gained, what I need to do when I diet, my calories being able to get higher in my off season facilitates them coming down gradually as I diet. But having that start point as much higher means that I don't have to dig as low just yet. So it's a really, really nice place to be. I can then still feel good in the gym. I can perform well. My mental alertness is there. You know, I had that training fatigue a couple of weeks ago, but I hadn't taken my foot off the gas for quite some time. So the deload week was able to rebalance things, and I do feel much better. Ultimately, the deeper I go into my diet, the harder things will become, but I'm ready for it. And this is what I thrive for. I love competing. I love both phases, my off seasons, my preps. And I'm just gunning for that stage. So I cannot wait. And it gets closer every day. Thanks again for all of your support, for watching my videos, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Don't forget, guys, subscribe to my channel. Set that bell to alert you every time I post a new video every Monday. And like this video if you've enjoyed the content today. Any comments would be absolutely awesome. I love responding to you guys and seeing your feedback. And I will see you next week.